And thank you, DJ Rankin. How great is he? And thanks for not playing the Sesame Street theme for our walkout music. And then how about this brain trust up here on stage? I think we should all start by introducing ourselves, our names, where we're from, our occupation, and then how long we've been with LifeVantage. So why don't I kick it off? My name's Brian Dixon. I'm your Senior Vice President of Research and Development. I'm originally from Hood River, Oregon, but I've lived in Salt Lake City, Utah for about the last 11 years or so. And then let's see, I've been with LifeVantage Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you count Saturday, I can finally count on 2 hands. So 6 days in the company.
So my name is Dr. Rebecca Glasser. I'm from Grand Junction, Colorado. I think I have my peeps back there. I'm a plastic surgeon. I've been practicing now for 19 years, and I've been with LifeVantage for about 7 years.
I'm Brett Brimhall from Phoenix, Arizona. So I've been in LifeVantage almost 5 years. I'm a chiropractor for almost 20. So I'm just excited to be here with you all in Pro 7. I'm excited to be building a business with you.
Hey, LifeVantage, Vicki Elsing got a Super Bowl South. I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and wellness coach, and I have been in the business over 8 years and loving it.
Hey guys, Debbie Zito. I'm from St. Simons, Georgia. So I'm a pediatric and adolescent physician assistant. I have a super fun job, right? Who doesn't love their job when they work with kids? So I've been practicing for 28 years. I'm also a lactation consultant. Love that too. Super blessed to be part of LifeVantage for the past 3 years. And really blessed as an Elite Pro 7. I have an amazing team. Love LifeVantage.
What do you guys say? We just jump right in. So we'll just kind of work our way through it. Dr. Glasser, our Vitality Stack consists of 4 products that include ProTandem NRF2, ProTandem NRF1, ProBio, and Omega Plus. These products are all part of biohacking. Can you tell us exactly what is biohacking?
Absolutely. So, biohacking is really creating the best self possible. It's things that we do every day, things like diet, exercise, not smoking, or taking supplements that we use to activate our bodies.
Very good. What things in our environment cause us to be hijacked instead?
And this is a great slide that we're going to show you guys later about being biohacked versus being hijacked. And we're constantly being exposed to toxins in our environment. Things like pollution and sunlight and smoke. All of these toxins cause our bodies to make more of those free radicals or what we call bad guys. So remember too though, even good things that we do in life, like exercise, or even just sitting here breathing right now, causes free radical production.
So we often talk about antioxidants. How do they work to combat free radicals and other oxidants?
So I think many of us take direct antioxidants. Does anyone out there take a direct antioxidant? There are things like vitamin C or green tea or kale or blueberries. I think many of us incorporate these into our diet. And they're important because they do destroy some free radicals, but they work in a very inefficient system. So think about it, if I drank my green tea this morning, that green tea would interact with one free radical, then both would be destroyed and the process would be over. So I think of it as one and done. But since we make millions and millions of free radicals every minute of every day, we find that direct antioxidants just aren't enough, right? So taking direct antioxidants is like going to a giant fire and coming with a Dixie cup. Is that going to put out that fire? So no, you want to make sure that you're bringing the whole LifeVantage fire department to put out that fire and take care of it.
Very well done. ProTandem NRF2 is an indirect antioxidant enzyme. How does this work differently than a direct antioxidant? I know you touched on that just for briefly, but can you expand on that for us?
Sure. So think about it, Protandim Nrf2 activates a pathway called the Nrf2 pathway. And by doing so, it's really promoting our body's natural production of a set of genes that are called your survival genes. So does anyone think survival genes, is that a good thing to have? So these genes are things like antioxidant enzymes, anti-inflammatory enzymes, and anti-fibrotic enzymes.
Yeah. And you're right, just from the name alone, right? Survival genes. I think we all want those activated. How do these antioxidant enzymes, right, these indirect antioxidants, how do they work to biohack your body?
Right. So antioxidants are like little Pac-Man, okay? Did any of you guys come to the 80s party last night and see all those old Pac-Man machines around, all right? So think about those little Pac-Men, and they're going around and they're gobbling up millions and millions of those free radicals every second for over a week. And so instead of this old system of one and done, our body is working at this rate of 1,000,000 times to 1. And who doesn't want that, right? It is a much more efficient system. So we want all those little Pac-Men in our body to be activated.
Oh, perfect analogy, I love it. Finally, let's talk about oxidative stress. What exactly is oxidative stress?
So oxidative stress, I think of it as our bodies rusting from the inside out. It's similar to, if you took a piece of metal and you left that metal outside, that metal would eventually rust. Or if you took an apple and you cut that apple in half, that apple is going to turn brown. And so that is oxidation, or our body's reaction to being exposed to oxygen. So as we age, we are literally rusting from the inside out as part of that normal aging process.
Listen to this. It's actually been estimated that somewhere between 1% to 2% of the oxygen that we breathe as we get older actually gets converted into these oxygens you were just talking about. So why is this oxidative stress so important? Is it important in the medical community? Has it been studied?
So oxidative stress has actually been extensively studied in the medical community. And so again, I urge you to go to the NIH or the NIH National Institute of Health, because if you just typed in oxidative stress into the search bar, you would find that as of this morning, there's over 213,000 studies on oxidative stress and how it is related to so many different diseases. So yes, oxidative stress is certainly something we're trying to combat and to decrease. And again, I think it's important, as you guys all know, that we can't make any claims at LifeVantage that we cure, mitigate, or treat disease.
The first study of our 27 peer-reviewed studies on Protandim came out in 2006. And it talked about oxidative stress. What are the conclusions of that human study?
So that first study on Protandim showed that it reduced oxidative stress by an average of 40% in 30 days. So you guys are taking notes, please write this down, all right? Protandim reduces oxidative stress by an average of 40% in 30 days. So it is so important in maintaining cellular health.
Wonderful. Thank you. Debbie, do you have anything that you would like to add on our Protandim NRF2?
Well, actually I do. Okay, so you guys heard I'm in pediatrics, right? Anybody out there ever get bogged down in the science? I do, of course. Of course you do, because we all do. It's a lot. Our bodies are incredible machines, and its life-sustaining processes are very intricate and very complicated systems to learn. Our products are amazing, and the pathways they activate are awesome, but it's sometimes very difficult to explain, right? Would you guys agree? Very complicated. So, working in pediatrics, I love health education, and I teach my little ones and their families every single day. And so it's always been super important for me to keep my education super simple. So when the science panel was discussing how we wanted to present the science to you all, I thought it'd be fun to give a quick visual after each product review so I could bring it down just one more notch as far as simplicity goes. You guys got your cameras out? Because you're gonna wanna take a picture of these slides. Okay? So let's move on. Gabe Pearson. If anybody's heard Gabe Pearson, our Master Pro 10, knows he always loves to say this. Do you want more good guys in your body, or do you want more bad guys in your body? You guys want more what? Good guys, that's right. So think about this, you guys. When you're breathing in oxygen, you are oxidizing. And when your body is oxidizing, it is making waste, or what we call free radicals. And not only are you making free radicals on the inside, but your cells are being hijacked by free radicals from the outside, like Dr. Glasser talked about. So how do we get rid of the bad guys, or help our bodies get rid of the waste? You guys, remember this, LifeVantage is amazing. It is the best cellular waste management company in the entire world. Woo! We are getting biohacked every day with our Vitality Stack. So I hope you guys out there, everybody needs to take your Vitality Stack every day. And yes, it is great to consume your antioxidants in your diet. And yes, we want you to keep doing that because it's very good for you. But how awesome is it that our Protandim Nerve 2 actually activates the pathway in our bodies that makes them neutralizing more than 1 million free radicals. Guys, that's a lot of waste to get rid of. So like Dr. Glasser said, we need our big bad LifeVantage Fire Department to come in and put out the fires in a much more quicker and efficient way. We are biohacking the aging code, you guys, and supporting healthy aging by combating the rusting of our cells. You guys don't want to rust, do you?
I sure don't. Dr. Brett, you mind fielding a couple questions for us?
Absolutely.
So,
I'm nervous. That's not what the last guy had.
He actually asked for the poo-poo hat that Dr. Goodman gave, but I've got something better for you.
no.
See, Dr. Brett was feeling a little uncomfortable being around all these women, so he needed the Superman.
It came to know for sure.
I'm just glad Brian's here. Last time I was on the women's panel, Chris Michael said, so.
All right, Dr. Brett, let's move on to the second component of the Vitality Stack and Pro10 NRF1. How is activating NRF1, the NRF1 pathway, different than supplementing with nutrition just for the mitochondria?
Absolutely. So what I love about what we're doing at Biohackers is that we're understanding there's different pathways. And literally, where you are right now is a reflection of all your cells' health. So if you're healthy, your cells are healthy. If you're unhealthy, your cells are unhealthy. Right? Your whole body's unhealthy. So what we're doing with this is we're literally taking these pathways, NRF1 specifically being one of them, and instead of supplementing, thank you. You know, that's why there's ladies in the world. They help us, right? Thank you. So we're actually activating these pathways that allow our body to function optimally. And the pathways always supplement them, right? Supplementing, I tell people, I don't want to supplement my children's finances forever, right? I'd love to activate their finances where they can take care of themselves. Our cells' job is that they need to be activated so that they're not supplemented. So what we're activating our cells, we're actually helping the body from the inside out to do what's designed to do and optimizing those systems. And NRF1 is another one of those pathways that allow us to activate those mitochondria.
Yeah, it's just a great product, and there's lipoic acid in that product, something I've studied extensively, and the effects that it has on the cell, mitochondrial health are just unbelievable. And so what are the mitochondria, and exactly why are they so important?
Yeah, I'm actually glad they don't wear capes like this, because that would be kind of weird. But the mitochondria, they're your powerhouses. Imagine what this, you guys have all walked outside this weekend, right? It's hot. right? Someone told me some hotel didn't have AC around here, right? And if your mitochondria don't work, there's no power. If there's no power, there's no air conditioning, and it's miserable to live in that, right? And so mitochondria are responsible for producing 95% of your body's energy, right? 95% of the energy your body uses to repair, to build, to maintain, to just function day to day is made by the mitochondria. It takes the food in, it breaks that down, it turns into energy. And the natural byproduct of that process is oxidative stress. So what we're doing, if you lose that NRF1 pathway, you're literally producing less mitochondria, have the ones you work less effective, which means your cells are going to get hot, become dysfunctional, and then die. That's the normal process. So if a cell cannot produce energy, it's designed to change or die. Neither one of those are good options. And so now with what we do with the NRF1 pathway, we're literally activating that pathway that allows the mitochondria to function better, become more efficient, produce better energy, so that the body can function like it's supposed to.
Perfect. And I think, just to get that point across, we used to study mitochondria in the laboratory as well, and some of the most potent toxins on the face of this earth function by inhibiting the energy-making process in the mitochondria. So you've all heard of cyanide. You guys are quickly from cyanide because it shuts off energy production. That's how vital energy production is to our cells. So, Debbie, what do you have any more thoughts?
You know I got a slide.
Oh, really?
Okay, guys, you ready? Your mighty mitochondria, Dr. Brett Brimhall. We need more of these superheroes, you guys, in our bodies. Wouldn't you agree? The bad guys are things like feeling yucky, your genetic coding, lack of energy, normal aging, and yes, our big word, oxidative stress. All bad guys. In comes the good guy, Protandim NRF1, to help promote the cell's ability to make more mitochondria. When you have better structure and function in the powerhouse of your cells, then you protect your cells from the waste, which are the free radicals. So with NRF1 activation, and like Dr. Brett said, we get improved energy. We all want that, right? Improved brain function. I need a lot of that. And improved heart health. And one of the greatest things is this, you guys. It works so synergistically together with the NRF2 to get rid of waste. Because if you're getting rid of those free radicals, your body needs more energy to get rid of the waste, right? And that, my friends, is why we call the dual synergizer our NRF1 and our NRF2 together the 1-2 punch. You may have to 1-2 punch.
Biggie, on to you. As a registered dietitian, I know you would agree there are a lot of benefits of taking fish oil. Would you discuss why you are such a proponent of our omega and review some of its benefits?
Absolutely. And you guys, I am a huge fan of fish oils. And I have been for probably over a decade, and if I'm honest, maybe a decade and a half. Especially working in a cardiovascular specialty hospital, I had a chance to see that power of what a high quality fish oil can do to be able to support good cardiovascular health. But I've also witnessed the difference between high quality and just your average fish oil, and it's definitely worth taking that extra bit of money to invest in a good high quality one. And the combination that we have in our fish oil with EPA and DHA, which remember are the omega-3 fats, the omega-7 fatty acids, and the 800 international units of the vitamin D3, in my opinion makes for a superior fish oil capsule. So they have everything all blended in there, and I love it. Now keep in mind also, if that's not good enough, that we have 100% traceable from boat to bottle, you guys. That's really, really cool. And being able to say that we can brag about being sustainable is huge in this environment that we live in, right? We want to make sure that we are harvesting it the correct way. And all of those things in combination made me upgrade my fish oil as soon as ours became available. And not even to mention that we don't have a fishy flavor. You guys, if you have had fish oils in the past, some of them cannot be so good. And believe me, after researching and trying fish oils over the years, those 15 years, I've tried some pretty yucky ones. So you gotta kind of get through the stinky ones to find the good ones. So, but let's talk a little bit about that EPA and DHA. And I'm just gonna keep it abbreviated because I don't wanna talk about all those big long words because that just makes it easier. I'll stick with Debbie's option there too. These are fats in our diet that are underconsumed. So we don't get a lot of those. And so therefore we need to supplement those. So talking a little bit more about that is that we have, this typical Western diet, and that's higher in omega-6 fats. And we have a goal in our bodies to be able to have a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3s, and when we eat a typical Western diet, that ratio is imbalanced, and that causes a lot more inflammation and health issues. So not good.
Wonderful. I love it. And I love that traceability from boat to bottle. That's something really special in the industry. So what can you do, what can we all do about that?
About the ratio? Well, one of the things that we can do is eat less processed foods. And I think that's a good thing to keep in mind just overall. And making sure that you have a couple servings of fatty fish a week, and of course supplementing with a high quality fish oil. That helps to even out that ratio.
But why would that even matter?
Well, because when we look at research, when we have a more even ratio, we decrease our risk of disease. And so being able to say that we can have a lot of health benefits from having that ratio more of a 1-to-1 is really good for cardiovascular health, blood lipids, and looking at your immune health, your skin, brain, all that stuff, you guys. So it's a major, major win. And keep in mind, however, that fish oils can get kind of gunky, like we talked a little bit about already. So I love it that our product is molecularly distilled. And if you guys haven't said molecularly distilled, you have to, because it's very hard, especially in front of all of you. So it's nice because that's a process that helps to get rid of all the yucky stuff. So it's removing heavy metals, pesticides, PCBs, all the things that none of us or none of you want in your body. And when we're talking about it tasting good, you can try for yourself and take a big bite out of your fish oil and just keep your mouth shut so it doesn't get all over. But there's your test.
Debbie, I have a feeling you have a slide for this.
I got a slide. And as a mama, I think that purity, that's what really struck me. I think that is amazing. I know what I'm putting in my family's body every day. I know where it comes from, I can trace it. I just love that. So, this one was easy. They taste awesome, you guys. If you just swallow them, great, but just suck on them a little. Try the flavor, lemon lime, they are delicious. So, I want to do a little brain trivia with you guys. Did you know that most of your brain is made of fat? Yup. And that is why it's so important to feed it the right and the best fats, like our omega-3s and our omega-7s that Nikki talked about in our fish oils. Another little trivia. Did you know this? That your brain shrinks as you age.
Maybe say that again.
Your brain shrinks as you age. This is what got me. Anybody out there over the age of 45? I'll admit I am. Okay. I only tell you guys that. All right, so I heard recently that your brain shrinks by 11% by the age of 45. 11% by the age of 45. So y'all old people like me out there, you better double up on your fish oils. Just saying.
The fourth product in the Vitality Stack is probiotic. This is so important in addressing gut health. Dr. Glaster, why is gut health so important?
So I'm so glad that Dr. Goodman covered so much of this. So you guys, how did you love Dr. Goodman? Was he just amazing? So our gut is so important in so many ways because we know that over 70 to 80% of our immune cells live in our gut. And so if you want a healthy gut, that makes for a healthy immune system, okay? So you also learned that we often refer to the gut as the second brain because it's tied to our mood. So now, when you guys think about it, so if you're coming out to do your first presentation You know, what's going to happen? Do you often think about getting butterflies in your stomach? Did you get a little anxiety? You get a little worried? So now you know why. Because really, if you looked at your brain, this is where it is right now. Right in your gut. Okay?
Often referred to as the second brain.
Often referred
right?
to as the second brain.
So why does our gut health ever get out of balance in the first place?
Right. So I think, unfortunately, you know, many of us eat the wrong foods. You know, it's easy to get sodas or fast food or processed food. It's a big part of people's diet these days. We also know that emotional or physical stresses can also change the microbiome or the gut bacteria. So in addition to that, you have surgeons like me who prescribe antibiotics every time you get surgery or for every time you get an illness. And so those antibiotics kill off those good gut bacteria, and it creates an imbalanced gut microbiome.
Yeah. Just a little of a side anecdote that I've recently experienced when your gut health goes south, how terrible it can be. So just a quick little anecdote if I can. So my wife is Colombian, and every summer after the kids are out of school, they go down and visit friends and family. And then I try to vacation with them however I can, as long as I can. But then my amazing wife, being amazing, she booked us a little side trip over to Peru. So it's always been a dream of mine to go to Machu Picchu. So on our way to Machu Picchu, we stopped in a small cafe to fuel up for the day, ordered breakfast, and it came with a side salad. And apparently in Peru, breakfast salad is a thing. Well, we probably all heard when you travel abroad, you want to try to avoid salads because they usually wash it in the local water. If you're a local, you're used to that flora and fauna. Well, I got a little bit cocky. I figured I've been in South America for a couple of weeks. I can handle it. Well, I ate salad and I paid the price. So flew back to Bogota on the way back to the US, spent 2 days there, and I never spent longer than 10 minutes from having to run to the toilet. It was terrible. So it threw my gut microbiome completely out of whack and suffered the consequences. And I suffered until everything came back into balance. So with that, how do probiotics help us maintain that healthy gut, that healthy flora and fauna?
So hopefully 6 days ago when you joined our team, we gave you some of the LifeVantage probiotics in order to kind of help out with that system.
What got me down that road to health? Sure.
So the things to remember is that, you know, probiotics are really providing beneficial bacteria to support a healthy gut instead of the ones you get from the water in Peru. Then those healthy bacteria will grow and multiply to repopulate the gut to support a healthy microbiome.
So important. There are a lot of probiotics out on the market. What would you say differentiates ours from the competition?
So again, if you guys are gonna pick up something from my part of the talk, you know, write this part down. So the delivery system is really what is making our probiotics so unique. All right. So most probiotics, you should learn from Dr. Goodman, are destroyed in the stomach. Right? They never make it past the stomach acid. So therefore, you're only getting about 6% of those good bacteria actually making it to the gut. And so our probiotic is encapsulated and it's time released over 10 to 12 hours. And so you're getting a 60 to 70% absorption into the small and large intestine. And so that's really what makes ours so much more effective.
Debbie, any chance you have a slide for probiotics?
Of course I do. Okay, there are so many bad guys that affect the integrity of our gut. Things like Dr. Glasser said. Soda. I changed that to pop too. I understand people call it pop in other areas of the country. Soda pop, sugary drinks, alcohol, all the preservatives in foods and drinks, and other things, like Nikki said, add things like pesticides, heavy metals, fungicides. So our ProBio, you guys, with all of the amazing beneficial bacteria that's in there, provides that healthy gut biome like you guys were talking about, and really helps the protect the gut and the lining of the gut, which is super important. So it's also pretty amazing, like Dr. Glasser said, write that down, you guys. It's a 10 to 12 hour delivery system. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, most of them really just don't get past the stomach, other over-the-counters. So we love our ProBiome.
Yeah, and that 10 to 12 hours is so important because of the transit time to get those healthy bacteria where they need to be.
Absolutely.
Right? I know lots of people love our Axio. So Dr. Brad, I'm going to throw this one to you, which is what we call an executive function drink. How do people with so many different symptoms seem to benefit from Axio? And also, what is brain fatigue and what can it feel like in people? What should they look for?
I love that question. My introduction to LifeVantage was Axio. Like, I thought I knew what Nerf2 was, I thought I knew what Protandim was, which I didn't. But when I saw what I saw in this little boy, Carrie's son, and I watched him really unfold in front of my eyes after working with him every week for a year. Like, I did something different. I found myself on an airplane to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, around Halloween, and to meet the people and to meet the scientists. And he said something that rang very true to me from my training. He said, people are tired because they're mentally tired, not because they're physically tired. And in all my practice, I've been treating fatigue from a body perspective and a non-brain perspective. So when our brains are tired, we might feel overwhelmed, right? Or you might feel lack of focus, or you might feel some of the other symptoms that tie into mental or executive function. Can't get things done, can't stay focused and in the zone, right? And it's not a drink for adults or kids, it's anybody that has a brain, right? So if you have like essential fatty acid, actually literally the effects of it is getting the brain to connect. Like I literally heard a story last night of a child that was nonverbal, like and just starting to be activated. Right? And this child was able to say, I love you, right? To the grandma, right? Guys, that's what we have our hand on with the nutrigenomics, because the body has to change its ability to activate the body with what we have. And Axio was designed to address mental fatigue. In the society in which we live, most of us we're not doing physical tasks like we used to. We're doing mental tasks. So Axio, in my mind, is a very underutilized, product that we have, and the effects are absolutely cumulative. Right? Just like education is cumulative, you learn how to add before you learn how to do anything else. So the effects of Axio, what you feel now and what you'll feel in 6 months or 6 years from now is drastically different. And that's what we need. That's why with Axio, we need to have it daily to function today, but I want to protect my brain because it's not until 45 when you're already 11% shrunk brain. So we don't need any of that going on anywhere else.
Wonderful. And I don't think people recognize that mental fatigue because it kind of creeps up on us through the day. I've heard it referred to as decision fatigue. I don't think we all realize how many decisions that we're making every single day, from what socks are we going to wear, what pants, what's for breakfast. Those things add up. And if you're familiar with Steve Jobs or Richard Branson and how they dress, they wear the same thing every single day to help minimize that decision fatigue. It's a few less decisions they have to make every single day so they can focus their time and effort on what's really important. But can you tell us just a little bit more about what you mean by cumulative?
Yeah, I love that analogy of decision fatigue. You really think about how many decisions you make from the time you get up to the time you go to bed. And when I think about that story I told you about that little child, is when we are taking information and then we have to somehow decide what it means and then get it back out. Right? That decision fatigue is why some people can't express themselves. That's why they might feel overwhelmed or might feel anxious. It's really that fatigue. But the effects, what I mean by cumulative, is we always talk about this process of the compound effect. A little thing done over time add up, both in our business and this. And so people always say, well, what will I feel and when will I feel it? And I love the analogy. It was yesterday we were talking about this soil. I take the product purely because I don't care if I never know what I don't get. Right? I want that soil. My mom, from the time that I was conceived, my dad studied nutrition and diet, and so my soil that I was born into was very healthy. And so I tried to maintain that throughout my life. Right? And so the effects of what my mom did, my generation before me did, it affects that soil. Right? Well, a lot of our soil now is so depleted when it comes to how our body feels and functions. So we can take the action, we can function today. When is your bank account too low? Right? How full do you want it to be? So if you want a cumulative effect in how your brain can function and handle stress and deal with daily life stressors, that's why you do it daily to function today, but to have a reserve when you need it. Because life will happen, and your brain's gonna need it when it does.
Well, to answer your question, I want my bank account maxed out. So tell us a little bit more about Axio. What is it and why would people want an energy drink in the first place?
Yeah. So Axio literally is the same concept as all the other products. It's a combination of nutrients designed to address brain fatigue. So it's not about the individual ingredients, it's about the synergistic blend and the effect that it has. So if you look at the individual ingredients and think, hey, you know what, that's unique, and I did remember when I saw it, I said, you know, that's a cool ingredient, that's cool, but why did they put them together? But when you combine those different things, I liken it a lot in relationship to a sports team. All sports teams have the same amount of players, but they don't all play the same together. If you get the right team and the right ratios in the right places, you can have a championship team. And so Axio literally is that smart blend of different ingredients put together to cause the sustained focus, right, without a crash. And it was designed that way to address that. If we do that, then your body can focus and can concentrate like it's supposed to.
I love that analogy of a sports team, right? It's the best team that wins, not the best group of individuals. Okay, moving on. Debbie, maybe you have a slide for us again?
Moving on. That's Brett, I love that. Synergy, right? All of our products work in synergy. Another reason why I love LifeVantage. All right, the gut. The bad guys, let's talk about Axio. Okay, so very similar bad guys, like the things that attack our gut health. We are super proud that there are no artificial colors, no artificial flavors, no artificial sweeteners in our Axio, nor any added sugars or genetically modified organisms. People ask me, you guys, what's your favorite flavor of Axio? And I go, all of them. They're awesome. Don't they taste great? Plus, like Dr. Brett said, they're gluten-free, it's vegan, and it tastes, like I said, awesome. Don't you guys think that it is time for us to think smarter, not harder, right? Think smarter, not harder.
Nikki, back to you. So Nikki, you've actually been part of LifeVantage for 8 years now. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There are literally thousands of other nutritional companies out there. Why did you choose LifeVantage, and what do you think separates LifeVantage from the competition?
Well, let's just say that my beginning with LifeVantage was kind of interesting. I just wasn't even interested enough to be skeptical, which sounds bad, but it's because I never gave it a chance. So keep in mind that I was prospected by Joanne Shear-Parkin, a registered dietitian, and Dr. Mark Gordon. And these are two people that I worked with every single day in the hospital. And they were my mentors, and I held them in very high regard. And my position, however, as an outpatient dietitian, so people coming in to see me on appointments, and being a media spokesperson, so going on TV and kind of debunking the things that were on the news and sorting it out for people so they knew what it meant, made me a huge target. Like literally, you guys, I think everyone that was involved in a network marketing company that sold any supplements prospected me. And I'm sure the rest of these people up here feel the same way as well. And the problem was they didn't have any research to back them up. So here they're coming in and talking about it and they can't show me any details. But after being asked over and over again, and thank God they were persistent, I think of that if they wouldn't have, I'd be heartbroken. But I finally started to listen to Joanne and Mark, and getting there and realizing, going to a meeting and hearing it, and realizing that everything that they were talking about went with what I had been lecturing about forever, like for years. It was lowering oxidative stress and the impact that that can have on your health. And so as I sat there and listening, and then I was going, well, if what they were saying was true, this is awesome. And so I sat there, I listened, and then I was able to like beat up that little skeptic in my head and figure it out. So what was my turning point with LifeVantage? The turning point was putting that skeptic aside and knowing we have peer-reviewed studies, you guys. That is huge. I was scrolling through actual research on PubMed. That's crazy. That never happened when I'm looking at supplements and trying to look at the research. And it was studies that could back up all the information that I was hearing. So it wasn't one of those things, you know, where my sister's friends, cousins, dogs said it was great. I guess dogs don't talk, but you know. We actually had independent studies and independent universities studying our product, not just green tea, not just turmeric, thanks Michelle, our entire product, and that is crazy, our branded supplement. So back then, that was 8 years ago, there were about 6 studies, and that was enough. Like, I just needed to have the research, be able to sort through and pick it up. And thinking about now, it just keeps getting better and better, you guys. And the sun is shining on LifeVantage. So you asked a little bit about what else sets us apart as a company. You know, being a company that's based on science and keeping this a priority as we develop all our products. Every time anyone comes out, you guys, we have that science to back us up. We're publicly traded, so we can dig into our history. We can look at our financial facts, all of that. But another big thing for me was the commitment that we have as a company to have strict standards on purity in manufacturing. That's huge. You know, when they're checking all the raw materials on every lot, checking for purity, heavy metals, herbicides, pesticides, and things Debbie was talking about a minute ago, all of those things that none of us want in our body, and we know we don't have to worry about that. And that opportunity to be part of this huge shift in health and wellness. This is really a big shift that we need to remember. And so all of those things that I talked about, all of those are why LifeVantage for me and what makes it so different. But now I think I want to ask a question.
Gonna put me on the spot.
Yeah. I would put you on the spot. So Dr. Dixon, what made you want to come to LifeVantage, and why did LifeVantage stick out to you?
Probably the question I've gotten most this week. And the very simple answer is science. I am a scientist to a fault. And there's a famous saying from Linus Pauling, I should say Dr. Linus Pauling. He used to say that he got into biology because he was so curious about the world around him. And not to compare myself to Dr. Pauling, but I have always had that same curiosity. So I wanted to know, how was that world working? How was our natural world working? Not just around us, but also in it. Because let's face it, we are one of the most complicated machines on the face of this earth. So the fact that I was able to study that, being a molecular biologist, and understand firsthand how our bodies work, is just absolutely fascinating to me. And so the fact that we can study that and LifeVantage is utilizing science for the good of the human condition is just absolutely amazing to me. And then second, I would say, is that being in the industry for almost 11 years, we were constantly doing competitor analysis, or maybe the other way to say it is spying, right? So I've always been intrigued with the science story behind LifeVantage, right? Nutrigenomics, biohacking, especially that NRF2 story. And I think not only because I've spent a fair amount of my graduate work studying NRF2, but I was intrigued that a company could take that complicated scientific message, put it in a bottle, and create a successful story around it, which really is a very complicated scientific story. So always been intrigued by that fact. And then third, being a scientist and being very analytical, I did my homework. Obviously, I did all my searches that I could. I have a ton of friends that also work at LifeVantage, so you can bet I made some phone calls. Everything I came across couldn't have been more hard. But then when I actually went in for my interviews, this is what sealed the deal for me. And I don't know how else to say this, so please excuse the analogy. But when I was meeting with our amazing executive team and with the other colleagues there at LifeVantage, I could only explain it as the feeling I got was one of Silicon Valley startup, right? Nobody in that company is sitting still. In fact, quite the contrary. This company is moving incredibly fast, okay? And let's face it, think about the industry. There's a lot of what I call legacy companies out there, and they're really just kind of riding their own coattails from successes in the past. And then there's all these new companies that seem to be popping up, right? They seem sketchy, they overpromise, underdeliver, and they just become flashes in the pan. But aren't we celebrating a special birthday? Yes. How long? How long? 10 years, right? Well, do you know what I call that? The the sweet spot. Okay? Because LifeVantage is both established, but also young enough to be hungry. Okay? You know what I heard time and time again from my time at LifeVantage? Is let's blow this thing up. Right? So what do you say? Let's blow this thing up. The science got me interested in LifeVantage, but that hunger to drive, innovate, and disrupt in this space is what brought me in ultimately to TV. I couldn't be more proud to be here, and I just couldn't be more excited for all of our futures. So back to the important people. Dr. Glasser, sorry, long-winded. When you first started with LifeVantage, there was only Protandim and RF2 available. What changes have you seen since we've added the full Vitality stack?
So thank you guys for being so patient. I know we're kind of running out of time here, so we'll wrap things up. But you know, I think we are getting better and better at addressing the whole body. All right. So each product in the Vitality stack addresses a different system. All right. So Protandim Nerve 2, what does it do? It decreases oxidative stress, and it promotes the production of those good enzymes within the body. You heard from Dr. Brett, Protandim Nerve 1 addresses our mitochondrial health and improves energy. The probiotic, we've heard tons about gut health today. Okay, that's so important. It's our second brain. We need to make sure that we're supporting that healthy microbiome of the gut. And then the Omega Plus, it supports cognitive, heart, skin health, healthy immune system, all of those things. But remember, you know, each works synergistically to complement the others. So you've heard a lot today about being a product of the product. You know, many of us, when we first started with this company, maybe we only had Nerve 2, which was awesome. But you're seeing that as we're adding on new products, each of those is addressing a different system, and each is working synergistically to improve overall cellular health. So if you're only taking Nerve 2, you heard from the panel today, it's time to get on board and be taking the whole Vitality stack, right? I mean, have you added Axio to all your products? You need to add it in. You heard from Darren, the average person is only 80 PV. The average distributor is 120 PV. We need to up those numbers, don't we? So if you're not on these products yet, if you're not on the beauty system, if you're not on the physique system, there's still a few things left in the store, and make sure that your subscription is full of all of these products. Be a product of the products.
It's wonderful. So we're running a little bit short on time. Do you mind if I just kind of challenge the audience one last time? Did you guys learn a ton today? Yeah? Well, it's our hope, I think, that you will take everything that you've heard today and incorporate it into your lives. And how I'd like to close here today is again to challenge you. So if you could you be introspective on your own health? Check in with yourselves. Where are you? Where are you on your health journey? I've met a lot of healthy people here in my time, okay? Maybe you're healthy, but I promise you, if you keep doing what you're doing, what's the one thing that's working against us all? It's time, right? It's time. So if you keep doing what you've been doing, it's not going to be good enough in a year, 5 years, 10 years. And if you're honest with yourself and you're checking in with your own health status, and maybe there's a couple things that you could improve on, I challenge you to write down what are those small little things that you're going to incorporate into your life to help you achieve optimal health. Okay? That's our goal here. That's why the panel shared with their hearts and brains today. And if we could we please give them another huge round of applause.